this book. "I've got this one spirit that's laying roses on me," said band member and lyricist Robert Hunter. "Roses, roses, can't get enough of those bloody roses. There is no better allegory for life, dare I say it, than roses." Grateful Dead and the United States government didn't agree on very much, but they seem to have agreed on this. My personal fascination with the Queen of Flowers began one gloomy afternoon in London in November 2003, while I was walking home from the tube and feeling sorry for myself. Suddenly, and for what seemed like the very first time, I noticed how many of the small front gardens of the terraced houses I passed every day had roses growing in them. I was especially struck by the fact that many of these rose bushes were still in bloom, even in late autumn. The discovery of colourful November roses cheered and inspired, and from that moment I started paying closer attention to roses. Soon after, I planted my first rose bushes in my East London garden. Peace and Zéphirine Drouin. I also began to study the history of the rose in earnest. When we moved to central France in 2005, I set about planting a very modest history of the rose garden there, focusing on 19th and mid-20th century hybrids, but also including, at one extreme, wild species roses, and at the other, contemporary English roses. Since 2010, I have lived much of the year in the Republic of Korea, where I teach at a university. Here, too, I grow roses, but I also regularly return to our house in France and, with help, manage to take care of and develop the garden. I'm certainly lucky that, on the whole, roses seem to thrive on neglect. By Any Other Name is not written by a botanist, horticulturalist, or an especially devout gardener. My professional background is fine art and art history, but an avid interest in the status of the rose as both a beautiful plant and a cultural icon has compelled me to write about it. This book, therefore, is the result of intellectual curiosity about the rose's hold on our psyche, combined with my emotional responses to the arresting presence of roses in our gardens and parks, and my experience of growing them. It is also founded on the belief that exploring this subject will illuminate much more than simply the Queen of Flowers. Introduction. Juliet. What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet. William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. In May 1912, the 25-year-old English poet Rupert Brooke was sitting in the Café des Westins in Berlin, missing home and composing a poem that would become one of his best-loved, The Old Vicarage, Grantchester. In the poem, Brooke uses the tulip and the rose as metaphors for national character. The conformist Germans, he declares, live in a society where tulips bloom as they are told, while in his own homeland, unkept about those hedges blows an English unofficial rose. Earlier that same year, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, a strike of female textile workers became known as the Bread and Roses Strike. Not long before, the American women's suffrage activist Helen Todd had made an inspiring speech in which she declared, "Woman is the mothering element in the world, and her vote will go toward helping forward the time when life's bread, which is home, shelter, and security, and the roses of life, music, education, nature, and books, shall be the heritage of every child that is born in the country, in the government of which she has a voice." The phrase bread and roses quickly became a rallying cry for those advocating for women's and workers' rights, and went on to inspire both a poem and a popular song. Soon after the First World War, in which Rupert Brooke died, Ernst Junger, a citizen of the land he derided and against whom the war had primarily been fought, also appropriated the rose.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.